What's up, guys? In this episode, I'll be featuring 5 very rare vintage Bruce Lee Golden Movie News magazines that were put out in the early 70s, as well as some rare Game of Death clips and photos, and it's coming right up. Hey guys, Charles Damiano back for another exciting episode of Bruce Lee Show and Tell. This week what we're going to be discussing is some magazines that I picked up from Manhattan's Chinatown back in the early 70s, and I really have a special fondness for these magazines because these were one of the few magazines that I went scouring through Chinatown to find in the early 70s, and when I stumbled across these I was really excited, and to this day they hold a lot of value and continue to go up in value because of the rarity of the magazines. They're called Golden Movie News magazines, and I'm going to flip through a few of the ones that I have, and I'm going to discuss them with you. And the last one I'm going to go through, I'm actually going to take you through a picture tutorial. We'll actually flip through the magazines so you get an idea of what these magazines consist of. Now, first of all, they were a little bigger than normal 8.5 by 11 magazines. They were more like 9 by 12, and they carried a lot of substance. They were very heavy because the first part of the magazine, they featured a lot of color photos of all different Asian martial art actors at the time in the early 70s, including Bruce Lee. And then the second half of the magazine, or 2/3 of the magazine, was all black and white pictures. So I'll show you the ones that I have. And these were basically known for the covers, and they all featured portraits of Bruce Lee on the cover. And I'm going to start with this first one, which was one of the first magazines I found in August of 1973 when it came out. And I remember I was 14 years old taking the Avenue A bus down to Chinatown at the time in New York City, and I used to go to a lot of the Chinese newsstands down there, and I stumbled across this magazine. It was one of my favorite magazines, and I loved the image of Bruce on this magazine. And like I said, all these Golden Movie News magazines features really nice portraits of Bruce Lee on the magazine, and this one came out in August of 1973, so it was just about a month after Bruce passed, and they featured him in this magazine. They did show a lot of his funeral in the magazine. There were some great pictures of him from Enter the Dragon, which was the last movie that was just released after him passing away. So this is one of the magazines that I had in my collection probably for over 45 years now, and I wanted to share this with you guys. So the next magazine, this is another one of my favorites. A lot of you guys probably have seen this one before. It looks like Bruce has a lei around his neck, and it's actually not the cover of the magazine. It's actually the back cover. The front cover is this, and this came out in July of 1975, so about a year after the first magazine came out, and it had this beautiful image of Bruce. Like I said, mostly portraits on the front cover, and I'm sure a lot of you have seen this magazine before. If you haven't, chime in. I'd love to hear what you have in your collection on these Golden Movie News magazines, because these are really rare. I mean, in the days I've seen these go in some of the Heather Holmberg auctions for as much as $300-400 an issue, and they seem to continue to go up in value because of the rarity. This next magazine is one of my favorites as well. I love the seriousness of Bruce on this magazine. As you can see, it's another portrait image, him looking very suave and serious. And this one came out in July of 1976. And again, another great picture of Bruce Lee on the cover of this magazine. So I wanted you guys to take a look at that one. And this next magazine, a lot of you guys have seen as well. It came out in July of 1977, so a year later. A lot of these seem to come out each year where they featured Bruce on the cover in full portrait style. And here he's kind of cooling out with his cool shades, which he's wore a lot of, and he always looked really cool in these sunglasses. So again, another great issue. This one came out in July of 1977, featuring Bruce Lee on the cover. Again, another Golden Movie News issue. And then this last issue I actually have 2 copies of. I'm going to actually thumb through this one because it has some great pictures of Game of Death because of when the issue came out. And here he's carrying a 5 o'clock shadow, little goatee and beard here. And this one came out in August of '78, which was just about the time that they put out The Game of Death, which they completed, you know, a couple of years after his passing in '73. So I'm going to flip through this one so you get an idea of the style of these magazines and how they featured some color pictures in the beginning, some black and white pictures. And I'll flip through this one. I actually have it already unbagged. Most of my magazines, as you guys can see, I keep in plastic bags to preserve the condition of the magazines and also prevents browning of the pages. But you'll see what these magazines consist of. So this is the one that came out highlighting The Game of Death. And again, like I said, the first part of the magazine is basically other Hong Kong movie stars at the time that they were featuring in all the different films back in 1978. And then as you flip through it, you do get to Bruce Lee, which they highlighted for The Game of Death. And I'll try to get to that portion of the magazine. So here's again how they start these magazines, usually a lot of color pictures of other actors. And then we come across this beautiful Bruce Lee centerfold. And again, here you see a nice spread of Bruce Lee from all the different movies. Up top, Fist of Fury, Hong Kong press conference up here, probably celebrating one of the films that he just completed with Raymond Chow. You got some nice pictures down here of him in Chinese Connection, here with his suit on, doing a flying kick. There was a lot of pictures that came out in this parking area with him in a full tan suit practicing martial arts. And as you can see, some more pictures of Bruce Lee. Here in these middle shots, you have him walking through the airport with his wife Linda Lee. And again, a nice picture up here with his wife Linda Lee as well. And again, a lot of other nice shots of Bruce Lee from all his films. Chinese Connection, Fist of Fury, Enter the Dragon. And these were just really, really special spreads on Bruce Lee. As you flip through, you get to a really nice spread of Bruce Lee. And this actually opens up. And you always got a nice little bonus feature in these magazines. So here, as you can see here, they're promoting The Game of Death. So it says Bruce Lee in The Game of Death, full centerfold, him chilling with his glasses, some images up top of him in the yellow tracksuit, and this was included in the issue. So that folds into a nice poster. So if you wanted to feature on that wall, your wall, you could. And then as you flip through, it kind of really just highlights The Game of Death. And here's some pictures of him with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Raymond Chow. And then obviously you have more images of him in these black and white photos. And as you pan through, you know, to promote the movie, they did this Bruce Lee big panorama where they had all pictures of him promoting the movie when it came out. Bruce Lee the man, Bruce Lee at work. And again, this is when they were promoting Game of Death. They have some clothing of him on the top picture over here. More images of Bruce Lee. Again, here's some movie clips from The Game of Death. Him with Danny DeSanto in the famous nunchaku scene.
It's difficult to have a rehearsed routine to fit in with our own broken rhythm. Rehearsed routines lack the flexibility to adapt.
And so they did a lot to promote this movie when it came out. Here he goes working out. This was a great issue. It was really highlighting a lot on Bruce Lee. Here he is practicing on the wooden dummy and working out on the speed bag. And so again, this is a really, really great issue featuring everything of The Game of Death. I wanted to flip through that with you so you guys can see the format of these magazines. They're really, really cool. A lot of great color images in the beginning, usually highlighting Bruce Lee. Then you get to some black and white photos. Again, if you guys have any of these in your collection, I'd love to hear the ones you have. I have 5 in my collection. This one's a duplicate issue. If you guys don't have this and like to trade or purchase this one, let me know. I have 1 left of these, and again, they are very rare. This is an April of 1978 issue. And again, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Once again, Charles Damiano signing off from the Bruce Lee collection. And until next week, I'm going to be sharing with you a lot more rare Hong Kong magazines that came out of China in the early 70s. So until then, have fun collecting.